I'm Evan Fiore, and this is 325 MG. I'm going to be your host for tonight, and now I'm going to introduce Chris Billett.
Alright, hey guys, I'm Chris Billett. I'm the co-host of 325. But before we start tonight, I want to introduce our interviewer, Christian.
Hello, I'm Christian.
Christian will be our interviewer. He's going to just walk off set real quick. He's going to be preparing for the interviewers later today.
Tonight's featured drug on this episode is aspirin.
Chemically known as acetylsalicylic acid.
It's an over-the-counter drug that's used all around the world, and what I mean by that is it's used everywhere, including by ourselves.
Its various treatments include acting as a painkiller, fever reduction, treatment for arthritis. It has a chance to reduce heart attacks in some cases, and has been known as the wonder drug.
Small doses are often recommended to reduce stroke and even for deep vein thrombosis, which is from long-haul airline passengers.
Alright, and now we have Christian going off to interview an expert chemist who we asked to come onto our show, though he was very busy at his local pharmacy.
An interesting part of aspirin is its synthesis. Can you explain the process?
Yeah, sure. When synthesizing aspirin, you need isolation and purification of it, and estimation of the purity of it. The synthesis involves the presence of the catalyst, and it causes a reaction between salicylic acid and acetic anhydride. Once aspirin is prepared, it must be isolated from the reaction solution and then purified.
What happens next?
Well, it can be isolated by purifying a chilled reaction, and then purification is used to get rid of the unreacted salicylic acid and acetic anhydride. Then recrystallization accomplishes the purification process, and that is it. So then you take the melting point of the compound to see how pure the substance is, and so you can use the melting point to see if it is aspirin.
What are some of the safety precautions you would recommend for synthesizing aspirin?
Well, one is to wipe any spills. That's one. And the next one, you want to wear gloves and goggles. You don't want to burn yourself, obviously. And another one is to dispose of any excess acid left over.
What was the world like before we had aspirin?
Well, before aspirin, there was no drug that could actually treat symptoms that could cause death. In addition, before aspirin, there wasn't a huge demand of medicine. After the populated medicine that treated multiple symptoms, the demand skyrocketed, and there was not enough to fulfill that demand.
I just want to say thank you to our chemical expert Anson for providing his expertise on aspirin.
Well, I was glad. Thanks for the offer to ask me all these questions.
And now we're going to provide an explanation of how acetylsalicylic acid works.
You rely on aspirin when dealing with fever or pain.
And to get a better understanding of how our chemical works, we're going to take a closer look at what happens in our bodies.
First, a stimulus such as poor posture, traumatic pain, and excessive stress can cause a reaction at the cellular level.
And at the end of this reaction, prostaglandins are created, and these substances cause fever, and they also increase pain in the body.
Second, the aspirin stops and prevents the manufacturing of the prostaglandins. This is done by restricting the enzymes that produce the cyclooxygenase.
This will eventually relieve the symptoms, whether it's pain, fever, or inflammation in the body. And now we got some diagrams to show you about our chemical today.
Alright, so first on our diagram we have Felix Hoffman, who accidentally synthesized acetylsalicylic acid.
On August 10, 1897. And he did this by acetylating salicylic acid in a chemically pure and stable form.
Acetylating means to introduce an acetyl group to a compound.
So we got, next we got Bayer, who's the company, their first major product was aspirin, which you can even see right here, the one drug.
The formula for acetylsalicylic acid is 9 carbon, 8 hydrogen, and 4 oxygen.
And then we even got the formula here for how it's synthesized, but it was mentioned earlier in our broadcast by our expert chemist. Alright, so now since we're done with this, we're going to take a quick little break.
Yeah, we're going to have Christian interview another guest, Felix Hoffman, the creator of aspirin. So we'll be seeing you a little bit later.
Alright, to start off the interview, I'm going to ask, what happened right after aspirin was synthesized?
The very first thing that happened for aspirin, it was first processed into a powder, and then after that it was processed into a tablet in 1915, and then at the end of World War I, it was used to help unhealthy soldiers and if they were sick or injured.
Did you think that your drug would have this much of an effect on the world?
Well, I didn't think that it would provide much value to those that use medicine. I also didn't believe that millions of people would use it in a beneficial way.
What are some of the positives and negatives of using aspirin?
Well, first off, the positives is that it can help prevent strokes and dementia. It can also help prevent some types of cancer by removing mutated cells from the body.
What are some of the negatives associated with taking aspirin?
Some of the negatives are bleeding in the brain, which is known as cerebral hemorrhage, and it can also cause stomach ulcers, which are holes in the gastrointestinal tract.
If you could create another drug better than aspirin, would you?
Yes, I would love to try to make another drug that can help many more lives.
Alright, that's all the time we have for. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me. See you around 325 MG.
And now we're going to have a very special interview that Christian's going to do live over the internet with the President of the United States of America.
Hello, Mr. President. I just wanted to say thank you for joining us on the show. And to start things off, what do you like about aspirin?
What do I like about aspirin? Well, I'll tell you what I like about aspirin. It clears up my headaches and controls my arthritis.
What are some side effects you don't like about aspirin?
Well, Christian, that's a very excellent question that I will give a long, detailed explanation. Sometimes I get rashes, usually running on my arms, and when I'm signing documents, it just aggravates me a lot. And also, I get these stomach cramps. I just double over and fall on the floor sometimes, especially at the dinner table, and Michelle just freaks out. And other times, I just get nausea, man.
Why do you take aspirin over other drugs?
Well, I take aspirin over any of the other drugs because it's the wonder drug and it assists me more than any of the other drugs could possibly manage to.
Would you recommend other people to use aspirin?
I would recommend this to all my fellow Americans of the United States, partly because it's pretty darn cheap and everyone can afford it, and also it works wonders, and you will all be satisfied. Thank you, Christian, for inviting me to answer these riveting questions. It was a joy, and Obama out.
I want to thank everyone that helped us with this broadcast. Josh McNeil as Barack Obama, Anson Kanawan as our chemical expert, and Brian Fiore as Felix Hoffman. Evan?
I hope you guys have a great night, and I'll see you next time on 325 MG. And remember, guys, to embrace the moment.
Alright, now we got some diagrams I want to show you. Here we are. First we got some stuff about our acetylsalicylic acid. First we have Felix Hoffman. Actually, wait. Forgot to introduce our guest, Leonardo the Turtle, right here.
Hey everybody.
Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
No, it's all a pleasure to us. What do you know about aspirin?
Well, I know it's in medicine, and I use it a lot. And for inviting me to the show, I want to give you Mikey's nunchucks. Don't tell him though, I stole them. Don't mind the broken clock.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I'll just set these down here, make sure I don't lose
See you at
them.
325 MG.
All right,
See you next
well,
time.
that was fast. Thank you.
Well, that is once again an excellent question that I will answer to the best of my presidential abilities. Now, I forgot the question.
Tonight's featured drug on this episode is Casper.
Casper the ghost?
Tonight's featured drug on this episode is aspirin.
Chemically known as acetylsalicylic acid.
It's an over-the-counter drug and used all around the world, and what I mean by that is it's used everywhere, including by ourselves.
Its various treatments has been eaten.
Why?
Okay, go.